I have a complicated relationship with buying clothes, not in the sense that I don't like clothes. I actually love clothes. I love the idea of looking put together and stylish. The problem is that I have this very specific habit where I'll walk past a store window, see something on a mannequin, and think, yeah, I'd wear that. That would look great on me. And then I'll go home and forget about it completely for 4 months, until one day I'm standing in front of my closet thinking, I genuinely have nothing to wear. Even though I'm looking at a closet full of clothes that I own, clothes that I purchased, with money. So a few weeks ago, I found myself in this exact situation. I had a thing coming up, a real thing. Not just a I have to leave the house thing, but a legitimate people will see me and judge my outfit kind of thing. And I realized I do not have a single item of clothing that is appropriate for this occasion. So, naturally, I did what any reasonable adult does. I waited until 2 days before the event to go shopping. Now, I want to be clear about something. In my head, this was going to be simple. I had a vision. I knew what I wanted. I was going in, grabbing the thing, and coming out. Easy, clean, efficient. I had 2 birds and 1 stone, and I was ready to throw it. But if you've been inside a clothing store recently, you already know where this is going. The first thing that happens when you walk into one of those big retail stores is that you are immediately hit with a wall of options. And I don't mean a few nice choices. I mean, like, an entire civilization of clothing has been folded and stacked and hung and draped across every surface of this building. Racks upon racks upon racks, all packed together so tightly that trying to browse through them is basically a cardio workout. I'm squeezing between hangers, getting slapped in the face by a sleeve, doing this little sideways shuffle just to see what size something is. I haven't even found anything I like yet, and I'm already out of breath. And then there's the music. I don't know what's happening with store music these days, but whoever is in charge of the playlist has decided that the appropriate volume is outdoor concert. I can feel the bass in my chest. I'm not shopping for a shirt anymore. I'm at a festival. I tried to ask one of the employees where the section I needed was, and I physically could not hear her answer. She pointed somewhere, and I just nodded and walked confidently in a direction that turned out to be the women's accessories section. So that was great. After wandering around for a while and developing a very strong opinion about store layouts, I actually found a few things that looked promising. And this is where I got a little excited, because shopping, when you actually find something that might work, is one of the better feelings in the world. I grabbed 3 options and made my way to the fitting room, feeling good, feeling optimistic, feeling like this was about to be my day. And then I got to the fitting room line. Now I want you to picture this. There are 6 fitting room stalls. 6. And the attendant is holding a little plastic number tag and doing this very thorough inspection of every item before handing the tag over, like she's a customs agent and I'm trying to smuggle fabric across an international border. Which I respect, honestly. Do your job. But there were 4 people ahead of me, and every single one of them had approximately 40 items draped over their arms. I'm standing there with 3 things, feeling almost smug about it, until I realized the wait was going to be roughly the same regardless. 20 minutes later, and I'm not exaggerating, it was 20 minutes, I finally got into a stall. And here's the thing about fitting rooms that nobody warns you about when you're young. The lighting is simply not your friend. I don't know who designed these lights or why they made that choice, but there is something about fitting room lighting specifically that finds every single thing you've ever been insecure about and just puts a spotlight on it. Like a very personal highlight reel, except it's highlighting all the wrong things. I'm standing there looking at myself and thinking, I looked fine when I left the house this morning. I had a completely normal reflection 2 hours ago. What happened in here? And the mirrors. Why does every fitting room have a mirror that's somehow slightly different from every other mirror you've ever seen? Like this one made me look about 4 inches shorter and 2 inches wider in a direction that I can't quite explain. I tried on the first thing, and I thought, well, that's not it. I tried on the second thing and thought, maybe, possibly, if the lighting were different, if I were standing in a different room, in a different state. And the third thing had one of those security tags on the back that was positioned in such a way that no matter what I did, it was digging directly into me. and I couldn't figure out if the shirt was uncomfortable or if it was just the tag. So I stood there for a while doing this little wiggle maneuver trying to isolate the sensation. The people in the next stall must have thought I was having some kind of medical event, so I came out with none of the three things I went in with. 0 for 3, which meant I had to go back out there, back into the concert, back into the cardio rack squeezing workout, and start all over again. And here's the cruel part about clothing stores. Once you've struck out in the fitting room, you start second-guessing everything. That shirt I thought was obviously perfect before I tried it on. Now I'm not so sure. What if it does the same thing in there? What if I stand in that room and realize I look like I'm wearing someone else's idea of who I should be? I grabbed 2 more things, went back to the attendant, went back through customs, waited again, and got back in a stall. And on this second attempt, something small but kind of wonderful happened. I was in there struggling with the curtain, because fitting room curtains are always either too short or too long, or just not quite covering the gap on the side the way you'd like. And I heard the woman in the stall next to me say to herself very quietly, "Oh, that's actually really cute." Just this tiny, private little moment of someone genuinely surprising themselves, discovering something they loved. And there was something about hearing that, this stranger's small, honest happiness, that completely shifted my energy in that room. Because I think that's actually what we're all hoping for when we walk into one of these places. Not just to find something that fits, but to have that moment. That, oh, this is it feeling. That tiny thrill of seeing yourself in something and thinking, yeah, actually, that's the one. And I did end up finding mine, by the way. Something I wasn't even planning on buying, hanging on a rack I almost walked past. And it fit. And the color was right. And even under that aggressively honest fitting room lighting, I looked at myself and thought, okay, this works. I brought it to the register, waited in another line, and walked out of that store 45 minutes after I intended to, having spent more than I planned, carrying fewer bags than I expected, and feeling genuinely happy about it. So if you've got something coming up and you've been putting off buying something to wear, just go. Go to the actual store. Ignore the music, squeeze through the racks, survive the fitting room lighting, because somewhere in there's probably something with your name on it. And the moment you find it is absolutely worth everything you had to go through to get there. And if you already have something in your closet that fits perfectly and you've just been overlooking it this whole time, go hang up your pictures first. That should take like 2 seconds.